If you give him a base, right? You give him a base. You give him a Ma'asros. Next second. You give him a base, and we are somewhere. Where am I? I had a mark. We are by name of Rabbi Yochanan Karebi. Rabbi Yochanan Karebi it is. Okay. Anybody have that? Rabbi Yochanan Karebi? It's a couple lines before the end of the Amud. That's four or five lines before the end of the Amud. Okay, 6. Name Rabbi Yochanan. Name Rabbi Yochanan. What do you have? Just Rabbi Yochanan? Okay. Let's say Rabbi Yochanan Karebi and Reish Lakish Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. Now Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish had a machlokas early in the Masechta, in the second parak in Halacha Beis. They had a machlokas whether about peiros which were collected not for the purpose of Shabbos, but then Shabbos came. So Rabbi Yochanan says Shabbos makes them kavua, then you're no longer allowed to snack when Shabbos comes. That's it. Reish Lakish says since it weren't collected for the purpose of Shabbos, so therefore after Shabbos you're allowed to continue to eat them and snack from them without having to take off Trumas and Ma'asros. So let's say Rabbi Yochanan holds like Rebbe. Rebbe holds that a chotzer is kovea. If you bring your fruits into a yard, even if you're going to exit the yard afterwards, since you brought it in advertently, you brought it intentionally through the yard, so the chotzer makes it kavur l'maisros. You're not allowed to snack afterwards. Whereas Rabbi Yochanan, Reish Lakish holds like Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, who holds that a chotzer doesn't make something kavur l'maisros unless you intend to eat afterwards. Okay? Unless you intend to eat in it. Excuse me. Okay. Again, Rebbe says as long as if you pass through a chotzer, the chotzer can be koveh vis-a-vis ma'asros. Whereas, according to Rabbi Yossi, it's only if you intend to eat in that chotzer. So it says Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan. I probably have a lot of gears or changes here from yours because there are a lot of little markings here. Rabbi Yochanan Karebi va'afilu d'yizbar Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yochanan, yes, could be Rabbi Yochanan's like Rebbe, that if you pass through a Shabbos, it's the same thing like passing through a yard, but it can even be like Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda. Why? Because it could be, even Rabbi Yossi will agree that Shabbos is more stringent. By Shabbos, there's a special halacha that fruit which fell off a tree on Shabbos, even though you didn't do anything to it, is also, it's muktzah. So the stuff becomes muktzah passively on Shabbos. So even if you didn't have an intent to eat it on Shabbos, Shabbos could have that sort of impact on the fruit and ban the use of the fruit.
It's because of Nola, right?
What? Because of Nola, yes. An interesting comparison. I don't really understand it. It fell off the tree, born literally. It fell off the tree on Shabbos, right? So it's because stuff falls off the tree on Shabbos. So this is the way I understand the comparison on an abstract level. Passive phenomena on Shabbos have an impact. Okay, so passive. So if something falls on Shabbos, even though you didn't do anything to it, it makes the fruit muktzah because of nolat. So to here, if fruit passes through a Shabbos, so to speak, even though you didn't do anything to it on Shabbos, that makes a kavur l'maisros, meaning you're no longer allowed to snack on it afterwards. Okay, that's the only way I can understand the comparison. Even Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda would agree to that. Reish Lakish, who holds passing through Shabbos, it does not deprive you of the right to snack. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda, you could say he's going like Rabbi Yossi Yehuda, but I feel this is like Rebbe, but it came not like Rebbe. Chomeru b'chotzer beis shmira. He holds, you know what? Chotzer is unique. Chotzer could be Rebbe holds a chotzer is a doraisa. Chotzer beis shmira means a chotzer which has a fence around it or something else which keeps it safeguarded. Beis shmira means it's safeguarded. Shamur, right? The shel toichai. He can, it's mechayiv doraisa. Dam Rabbi Yochanan said on top of you down off now. Mekach v'chotzer v'Shabbos. Rabbi Yochanan holds that transactions done with fruit and the bringing of the fruits into a courtyard and to prove the Shabbos, the fruit growing through a Shabbos, ain't on Torah. They do not deprive you of the right to snack on a Torah level. Rabbi Shimon Lucky said, however, Omar, the clear one, which is most clear, meaning is Doraisa, the Chatzar Beis Shmira. He holds that going to a courtyard is a Doraisa. So since it's going to a courtyard is a Doraisa, it could be, says Rish Lakish, that Rebbe is more machmir by going through a courtyard, that going through a courtyard deprives the right to snack, than he would be by Shabbos, that going through a Shabbos does not deprive you of the right to snack. Okay? Rabbi Yochanan Bar Yochai Omar. Yochanan said a chiddush name Rabbi Bar Yochai. By the way, notice this in the Bavli also this time around. And here it's in the Yerushalmi also, I want to point it out. Rabbi Yochanan says a lot of things in the name of Rabbi Bar Yochai. Yeah. I don't know where he got them from. Because he missed Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai by at least 2, maybe 3 generations. Rabbi Yochanan's Rebbe was Rebbe. Rebbe's Rabbeim were Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. And Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda were contemporaries, although I don't know if they were not Talmidim perhaps, they were contemporaries of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. They were all students of Rabbi Akiva. But I don't think that Rebbe actually learned by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Perhaps he did. We know the Rebbe was a Rebbe, but my impression is not, because Rebbe, the famous Ma'aseh Chulin, where Rebbe has a conversation with Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair. Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair is Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's son-in-law. Son-in-law. Chitzliah was the son-in-law. So it seems like Rebbe was more of the there's Rebbe is a subordinate to Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair. So it seems like Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai was much older than Rebbe, and very, very little was, given, if anything, was given over directly by Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai to Rebbe himself. So the bottom line is that Rabbi Yochanan, in some way, which is unclear to us, had some sort of intimate connection with Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. Okay? And it's a mystery to me. Figures, it's a connect with Shimon Bar Yochai, it's a mystery, right? But Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says,
it's unusual. I mean, here you have an Amora mentioning something in the name of the
No, that's what I'm saying. This is a unique case. Rabbi Yochanan and Shimon Bar Yochai. It happens very often, and it's only in this way I've ever seen it. This place, yeah. In this way, Rabbi Yochanan and Shimon Bar Yochai. It's also interesting that wherever he mentions it, whatever Rabbi Yochanan mentions the name of Shimon Bar Yochai, it says Bar Yochai. No, it doesn't say Rabbi Yochanan Shem Rabbi Shimon, because Rabbi Shimon in the Mishnayos, he's always known as Rabbi Shimon, not Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. So it's a rarity that we find him mentioned actually in Shas as Shimon Bar Yochai. I once saw somewhere, or maybe I'm making this up. It happens. But I think that wherever it says something in the name of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai as opposed to the name of Rabbi Shimon, so it's more of a Kabbalistic tinge to it. I don't know if that's true. It doesn't, and I don't think it necessarily applies to Yerushalmi anyway. But in any event, here it certainly doesn't have Kabbalistic. What?
Is the
Tana Rabbi Shimon is Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, yeah. Okay? No, it's the same one. Same one. Absolutely. Says more Rabbi Yochanan, he was a bar plukta. So I'm saying Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon are always bar plukta, right? And they were both contemporaries of Rabbi Meir, right? But Rabbi we know learned by Rabbi Meir. I don't think he learned by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. That's what I'm saying. Okay. In any event, says Gemara further. Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, he had two courtyards. Achas b'Magdala, one in the city of Magdala, which is in the Galil somewhere. V'achas b'Tveria, another in
the city now called Migdal, which is near Tiberia.
Oh, there is? It's called Migdal? It's not it's a modern city or an ancient city?
Modern. More like a little.
I think there's a figure in the life of Yoshka, Mary Magdalene or something like that. Yeah. So I think that's this city. Because I think she's from the Galilee. I forget what her role is. I think she was a sweetheart or something. In any event, Achas Mamagla of Achas B'Tveria, if he had one... What?
No. It's Magdala is... Well, it could be that these two... Like I just said, Migdal now...
Yeah, they're similar. Not the similar. They're proximity. Achas Magdala of Achas B'Tveria, Havirin Bezusha B'Magdala. She took the fruit through the courtyard in Magdala, Lochem Bezusha B'Tveria, with the intent to eat them in Tveria. Mikevon Shavirin Derech Heter, since they passed through Magdala, with no intent of eating them in Magdala, but with the intent of eating them in Tveria, so that's called derech heter, in a manner which is permissible, mutarin. They're not chayiv, you're still allowed to snack in them. Even when you're in the Chotzer in Magdala. Because this Chotzer in Magdala is meaningless vis-a-vis this fruit. Why? Because this is not their final destination. So it says more Asher Rav Shimon Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Shimon is like Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda. They're passing through a Chotzer is not Kovei L'Gabi Trumas Ma'asros. V'Rabba, and it's greater. Meaning the Rabbi Yosef is a bigger Chiddush. Because Mad Omer Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Yosef said, why in the Chotzer itself you can't eat? When you get outside the Chotzer, you can eat, right? You can snack. Going through the Chotzer is not Kovea, but you're not allowed to snack in the Chotzer. Once you get out of the Chotzer and you go to a place which is example, like your roof, then you can continue to snack, but not while you're in the yard. But according to Madam Rabbi Shimon Bar Shimon, if you're standing in the courtyard in Magdala, so you can snack there. Okay? Since you can pass in a way which is mutter, meaning that you don't have any intent to eat them in Magdala, you're allowed to be kover them in Magdala, to make them permanent there, so therefore you can snack on them there. Rabbi Eliezer, Rabba mean the Tarvayon. Rabbi Eliezer has an even bigger chiddush, both of them. The Rabbi Eliezer came and say he's chil boy and derech heter mutter. Rabbi Eliezer holds even you're standing outside a field, your courtyard, the final destination courtyard. Let's say Taveria's courtyard, and you start snacking outside. You can walk in and continue snacking. You don't. Once you get into the chotzer, you can continue snacking on them. So now we have four opinions here. Big machlokas. Rabbi holds. You go through a courtyard, that's it. Forget it. You can't snack anymore. Right? Go through a courtyard, can't snack anymore, even when you get outside the courtyard. Rabbi Yosef says you can go through a courtyard, you can't snack in the courtyard, but if you're only passing through, once you get back outside the courtyard to somewhere else, you can continue snacking. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai holds an even greater chiddush. That if you're going to courtyard 1, in order to get to courtyard 2, when you're in courtyard 1, you're inside a courtyard, can snack. Even though you're inside a courtyard right now, but since that courtyard is only in transit, you can eat there. Rabbi Eliezer holds even greatest chiddush that once you started snacking beheter outside a courtyard, even if you're entering your final destination courtyard while you're snacking, you can continue to eat. Okay? You got that down, Pat?
Yeah. One says you go into the courtyard and through. The other one says you can walk through the courtyard, you can't eat while in the courtyard, you go back down.
Okay, you got the picture.
And the other one says if you're eating, you go into the courtyard and continue.
No, there's the fourth one.
What's the fourth one?
Fourth one is that once it goes to the courtyard, you're finished.
Oh, that's right.
That's the first one.
No, that's... Yeah, right.
Okay? Once you get a courtyard, you're finished. You can go through the courtyard and eat on the other side, but not in. You can eat in one courtyard if you're going to the other courtyard, and then once you finish up. Okay, let's go back to the Mishnah. Halacha Aleph. I might say Paul of Lasodim. Halacha Aleph.
Yud Beis and Beis, second line.
Yud Beis and Beis, second line. Hamotzi Paulav, do you see that in the Mishnah?
Next to the little Aleph. Yud Beis and Beis. You're looking.
No, you're on the wrong side.
I'm in Beis. I'm sorry.
Okay, Hamotzi Paulav Lasodim. Some of you takes his workers out into the field. If they do not have food. Oichlin upturin. Now, what does it mean they don't have food? It means that he doesn't owe them any lunch. They're on their own for lunch. So they have the right to eat, right? That's what the Torah gave them. So they're allowed to, they don't have to take off any trumas or maizus. And no matter how much they eat, doesn't matter. They can make piles and piles. Why? Because the Torah said, you're a worker, eating on the field, you're exempt. Dispensation. No trumas or maizus required.
Only as long as he's eating in the field, though.
Right, as long as he's in the field, that's all.
He can't take the stuff home with him.
No, but he has an even bigger chiddush l'chumra. But if he owes them food, because he contracted to buy them with lunch, and they're eating and being yotze their lunch with the stuff out in the field, then already looks like a transaction. And therefore, ochlin achas minatena, they can only eat one by one, not make a pile, because if they make a pile, it's talocham tziref, which is like a mini miruach, a mini piling, and therefore, if you have a transaction plus a mini miruach, you're no longer allowed to snack. And avalomina sal, they're also not allowed to make eat from a basket, velomina kupa, nor a container, velomina muktzah, and not from an area in which the figs are drying. Okay? Says the Gemara, back to where we are. Says the Gemara, we'll keep one finger on the Mishnah, we're going back in a minute. Nicha lomina sal velomina kupa. Anybody see that? You probably have a header. Do you have a header on this?
I don't. No. Smack dab in the middle of the page.
Nicha lomina sal velomina, Mr. Zucker, you have it? You gotta keep finger. Nicha lomina sal velomina kupa. Nicha lomina sal velomina kupa. Okay, nicha lomina sal velomina kupa. I understand they can't eat from a basket, nor can they eat from a container, because that's like a mini miruach. It's like a mini pile. Velomina muktzeh. But why can't they eat? Why can't they eat from a muktzeh, a place where it's drying? What's wrong with that? There's no piling there. So it says in our Kamad, the Tamar Tamon Malakit Echod Ba'echel in Tzirav Chayav, just like you say over there, well, it's all part of the question. Just like you say over there, that if you take one by one, it's okay. Only if you join them together, it's chayev. So to say the same thing in the muktzah. The muktzah as well, as long as it's not in a pile of any sort or a basket of any sort, so it's okay, right? So what's the problem? So Rabbi Yitzchak b'muktzah so kimetzurav. Once it's in a drying area in the muktzah, it's as if it's already joined together. In other words, the drying, I'm not sure how to describe it, but drying, they're scattered in a way which was, they're all together. They're all in the muktzah, in the drying area. So that also considered as if it's a pile, and even though they're scattered, it's a collection, let's call it. And that collection makes them forbidden to snack for the workers any longer. Okay? Collective guilt. Good terminology. Okay, let's go back to the Mishnah again. Hasocher is hapoel. Somebody who hires a worker, lasos imo b'zeisim, to work with him in olives. Amar Loni said, "I'm not lechol zeisim." So if the worker makes a condition and says, "I'm working with you on the condition that I eat the olives," ochel achas upater, he eats one by one and he's exempt. V'im tziref, if he makes combines them, he's chayev, right? Same idea which we had in the previous statements. L'nakish b'tzolim to hoe in the onions. Yerek, and the worker makes a condition to eat from the leaves. Mekartim olive ochel, he can only eat one by one. In sirif, if he makes a mini miruach by making a pile of them or a collection of them, chayiv, then he's chayiv to a smice and out the snack. Back to our Tani Devei Rebbe. Everybody see that? Tani Devei Rebbe learned in the house of Rebbe, ochel kedarko upater. They said in the Reisha a very different thing. We said in the guy who's working with the olives, he can be ochel achas one by one, only one by one. Rebbe holds as much as he wants. Even kedarko, meaning he can make a big, can make piles or gather a few together. It's okay. So he argues in our Mishnah. Rabbi Yonah boy, and Rabbi Yonah asks, Mana kayamin. What are we talking about here? If he's hired to work in the olive orchard, like any other worker, everybody agrees you're exempt. That's the halacha. A worker is exempt, right? While he's working, he's exempt from Yerushalmi Ma'asros. If on the other hand he hired him not to work on the olives, but to work on the trees themselves, hoeing and watering and chveis, What? Pruning, right? Everybody agrees that in that case you're right. Of course, he can't make a pile, because then if he gets the right to eat, it's not the right which the Torah granted him. It's something which his employer granted him, and therefore it looks like a transaction. And therefore you can only eat one by what? You can't make a mini miruach. If you join them together, chayav. So what are we talking about? Rather, this is what we're talking about. B'shasachra, when you hire the guy, you guys still with me? L'nakishimo b'zeisim, to hoe with to take off. It's a very lumdish Gemara. To take off, I hired him to take off the bad olives off the tree. Bad olives. The thing is, what does he do with the bad olives?
He eats them. Could he eat them?
What does he do with most of them?
He eats the good one, he presses the bad one.
So he gives them to the Baal Boss. He puts them into the Baal Boss's baskets. So Rebbe says, look, this is just like a regular worker. A regular worker gathers and puts into the Baal Boss's baskets. Right? He harvests for the Baal Boss. This guy's harvesting too. So therefore he can eat kedarko, right? This is what he's eating what the Torah gave him. Because he's collecting olives, he's harvesting olives, he's giving the majority of them to the Baal Boss. So what are their bad ones? But he's giving them the Baal Boss anyway. So therefore he is a regular worker, and regular workers eat kedarkom in their pots, no matter how much they collect, no matter if they make piles. But what do Rabban in our Mishnah hold? Rabban in our Mishnah hold, you're not harvesting. The bottom line is, what are you doing here?
You're
Weeding out. So therefore, this is not a classic case where the Torah gave you permission to eat. The classic case is where you're collecting for the Baal Boss, harvesting. You can also get chaparine, but he is not harvesting. He's weeding.
Isn't weeding part of the harvest?
No, that's what he's saying. That's a Rabban hold. It's not weed. It's not. Since he's primarily doing it in order to weed. Yeah, but the question is how you look at that activity. He got it.
I got it also.
Yeah. So that's the machlok. But you understand, it's machlok sorry Rabbanan. So you're on Rebbe's side. So no, I can't argue with you. You're on Rebbe's side. but Rabbanan argue. Rabbanan hold that this is not considered to be a case of harvest, and therefore he really should not get anything to eat. If he does get to eat, it's just it's a transaction, and on transactions you're not allowed to make mini miruachs, you're not allowed to make piles. And we also want to be medai from the Mishnah that's the type of case it's talking about. I mean the Basra from the last case our Mishnah had said L'nakish b'solim, right? You're hoeing the onions. Amar lo amnas lechol yerek, and this is going of course like Rabbanan. They say if you want to eat the vegetables, so there's some mekartiv olive oichel, then you have to peel off leaf by leaf and eat. V'imtzir, you make a pile chayiv. The bottom line is what we see here is that it's talking about a case where you are weeding out the bad ones. Now, the question is, the Achronim speak about here, does Rebbe argue even on the onion case? The Pashut Pshat said Rebbe would argue on the onion case here. Just like he said that by the olives, the weeding is like a harvest, and therefore the worker gets to eat normally, and therefore he's allowed to take as much as he wants and allowed to make piles. So to argue by the onions as well. And the Sefer of the Mishnah. There are Achronim, including the Kavanaki, who want to say he wouldn't argue on the Sefer of the Mishnah, but I did not understand them, and therefore we will not get into them. Okay? Is that reasonable? Yes.
Finish the barley, we'll go on to this the second time.
Okay. Says the Mishnah further. Halacha beis. Do you have halacha beis now? You have halacha beis? I got halacha beis. What do you have next in the back? What? Okay, go back to the first Mishnah then, because he has it as halacha beis. So obviously you divide up the halachas differently. Go back to the first Mishnah. Matzah tzitzos baderech. Next part of the first Mishnah. Do you have that? You don't have to. Don't have
the next Mishnah.
Okay, so the next Mishnah belongs here. That's the solution.
Oh, that's it. So
okay.
Beis, later on.
Halacha Beis really should be replanted here. Where does it appear in the Gemara? Okay, so go to Tesvav Beis and let's do the Mishnah that belongs over here.
Oh, I see.
Okay. Matzah tzitzis baderech. You find dried figs on the road. Va'afilu b'tzad steak tzitzos. Even you find them next to a. You have it? What? Yeah, that's right. Session in Yerushalmi. What's
unusual is we're talking about roadkill. Figs being a roadkill.
Right, figs are roadkill. Even next to a field full of dried figs. And so there's a fig tree which is inclined over the public thoroughfare. You found underneath the figs. You're allowed to take them. There's no thievery involved. Why? Because the owner gives misyoish on them. He gives up hope and getting them back. They're exempt from meiser. The more is ultimately going to say because they're like hefker. However, by olives and by carobs, they don't get disgusting if they fall on a highway because they're tough and hard, and therefore chayavin. Therefore, they're chayav and trumusum maasros, and also you have to return them to the owner because he never gave up hope on them. Matzah grogros, if he finds a date, im darsu rob ne'adam, if most people already pressed their dates. These are dried dates or dried figs. I think they're dried figs also. But, no, that could be. They're dried dates. Matzah in darsu rob ne'adam, if most people have finished working the dates, and this mistama was part of a date cake, which is the Gemara Malacha by dates, chayiv, and it's chayiv in Trumas Amaisas, so it reached the stage of chiyuv. And if not potter, then it's exempt from Trumas Amaisas, because it's a solitary date which got lost. Matzah pilchei devela. Similarly, if you find pieces of a date cake, chayiv. The chayiv in Trumas Amaisas be a dua shemidavar gomer, because they obviously come from which is completed already. Hacharuvin carobs. Until you made a pile of them, before you made a pile of them on top of your roof, you can take them down from them to an animal who potter, and you're exempt from Trumas Amaisros, because you're going to put back whatever you don't eat, whatever the animals don't eat, and therefore there's no chiv in Trumas Amaisros because they're not considered. It's only considered to be off the cuff snacking. But go to the Gemara, back to where we were. Rabbi Chagai Sholach Havraya. You see that? And you down it towards the bottom, almost at the bottom. Rabbi Chagai Sholach Havraya asked the Bnei Yeshiva, the people in the Yeshiva, Ma'u ahein potter d'tznina nacha. What does it mean when it says potter in the Mishnah? It says that if you find them on the road, that they're potter from the meisers. What does it mean they're potter from the meisers? How do you spell?
That's 2 years.
Yeah, it's always spelled Yerushalmi with 2 years.
No, but at least don't use 1 year though,
Right.
right?
That's not the reason. It's Aramaic. Okay? Rabbi Chagai Sholach Havraya. He asked the Bnei Yeshiva, Ma'ahein potter t'ninach. What does it mean potter? What does it mean that these figs you find on the roadside are potter from Trumas and Maisus? So they said, why is it potter? I should say, not what is it, but why is it? So they said to him, they said to him, Mishum ochel arai basadevu potter. Because he's snacking. He finds isolated figs on the highway, he takes them and starts snacking them, he's potter. Says the Gemara, Omer alone to Rabbi Yechagai said back to them. The Chos, you know, misnei. Would it come for like this to say? Meaning, there's no chiddush in that. I already know that from countless mishnayos in Masechta Maisus. Not countless, but many. So Mishum Oichla Rai B'Sadavu Potter. Because of that, you have to give me another mishnah. Elo, that's not the reason of the logic of the mitzvah. The logic of the mitzvah is Mishum Hefker. The reason why this is exempt from Trumas is because it has the din of Hefker. Shekedi Michnisa Labayis Potter. And you should know it goes so far, since because of Hefker, that even when you bring them into your house, you're exempt from Trumas U'Maasros. Because that which becomes Hefker is exempt from Trumas U'Maasros forever and ever. Okay? Even once you bring it into your house. The Tanya, as we learned, and I'll bring you a circumstantial evidence for this, Matzah Kal, if you find a basket, Mechupab Mishba'alim, if you find a basket which is covered by leaves, Asura Mishum Gezel, it's also taken because it's theft, because obviously somebody's safekeeping it, and it seems like a simon as well. And the Chayavas of Maisis, it's Chayav and Maiser. You have to Maiser it. Asura Mishum Gezel, it's also because of theft. Mishum Shlam Shesh Bo Simon, because it's got a simon, meaning that it's covered. The Chayavas of Maisis, it's Chayav and Maiseris. Sha'at Khan, Sha'at Achshav Das Bailam Aleh, because obviously its owner wants to get it back. So the proof from here is that just like here that it's Chayav because there's still ownership, so to where it's exempt because the ownership fell off. How does ownership fall off? Through the medium of Hefker. Okay? So the barometer of Chiyav and P'tur here, of Chayav and Trumas U'Maasros, exempt from Trumas U'Maasros, is ownership. Okay? Now, very interesting question. He actually, the Kavanoki quotes here Reb Chaim Kanievsky. I never saw him do it before. Ad Heichon. You find fruit. To what point, and it has a simon, to what point do you have to continue working with it in order to possibly eventually restore it to its original owner? To what extent do you have to continue to work to keep it or preserve it, because you might be able to give it back to its original owner? It's an amazing answer the Mark is. You know how long you have to keep fruit? No. You have Mina Hefker? You have Mina Muvkar?
Yeah.
Oh, guess what I have? You don't have to guess, I told you. Mina Muvchar. From the chosen. And he translates that, I guess he gets it from the disciple's son. He translates it that as long as it's suitable to be Torah on as grade A fruit. Meaning there's halacha, you're always supposed to take truma from grade A. So as long as it remains grade A, it doesn't turn into grade B. No. Even if it doesn't rot. Like, you know, you can get 2 grades of apples at the grocery store. So the stuff with the bruises and stuff without the bruises. So as long as it doesn't diminish to grade B, I have to keep it. But once it diminishes to grade B, that's it. I get rid of it. I sell it. I keep the money to what Shabbos I made on the money. Okay? So Arechon, Akidei Shiochel Litromin Ha Muvchar, from that chosen. The Ritbaz doesn't make the correction here? Doesn't even discuss it? Let's see if I can find quickly where it comes. Probably comes from the Rash Seraleo. Yeah, the Rash Seraleo has another gear, some Mechubar. He says it's a gra, so I'm surprised the Ritbaz doesn't bring it down. He says it's a gra.
If the Yisomim come to divide up
it depends on Nimas.
The Yisomim come to divide up
all right. Be that as it may, that's how he translated it. He has it, Mina Muvchar. Lo yachol litrom Mina Muvchar, if it's so far gone that it can no longer be considered Mina Muvchar, it can no longer be considered to be ideal. So in that case we say, that's it of course. Also son domim v'ochla, you redeem for money and you eat them and you keep the money for the guy when he comes along. Probably a week or two. How long do apples keep?
You know,
Until whenever he shows up, yeah.
5 years later?
Until Bachi Elio, yeah. Rabbi Yonet, boy, Dormi Maushi Itflu B'Kemekach. This fruit, once you redeem it, before it becomes imminently grade B. So now, can you snack from the fruit which you've just redeemed or not? It's not really redemption. I'm using the word redeem. I should use the word redeem. You're exchanging. So is this exchange bar you from snacking on them or not? Or do I say, since either like a transaction and now I can no longer snack for them. Or since if the owners will show up right now, I give them the fruit, so that means it's not a true transaction. So lom nitbula, so it's not tevel, and I can continue to snack from it. Okay, Mr. Suga, do you understand what I just said? Not really.
Last part.
What?
What's the first part again?
This is a guy. He found fruit.
Right.
Now the fruit is about to lose some its value. So before it loses value, he has to keep its value around to give back to the owner if the owner ever shows up. So before he loses value, he says, well, this fruit is worth $50. I'll set aside $50 if the owner shows up. Now he starts eating the fruit. Is he allowed to snack on the fruits even though it's not meisered? Or do I say, since he evaluated it and set aside $50 in lieu of the fruit, so then it's considered to be as if it's a sale and he can no longer snack on it? Okay, that's the Gemara's question. What? That's part of the question. That's really part of the question. Okay, Rabbi Mona, Rabbi Mona wanted to answer. Mona's Rabbi Yona's son. Rabbi Yona asked the question. Rabbi Mona wanted to resolve it. He resolve a very interesting fashion. Take this issue further. Let's say you started munching on the fruit already. Designate $50 fruit, started munching on it. And then the owner comes and says, wait! My apples! He wants it back. Says tomorrow, Piv lav kamosu. Isn't out of his mouth, isn't it disgusting? Can he give it back at that point? Can't give it back at that point, right? It's already too disgusting to give it back, right? So, what? One apple, right? But that one apple he can't give back, right? So that one apple, the moment he put it into his mouth, it becomes his, right? Now, if the owner showed up at this point, wait. But what happens if the owner showed up right now? You took a bite. So what is the apple now?
Disgusting.
But whose is it? No. The person's eating it. So he acquired it. So he's not allowed to snack on it anymore. No, since if the owner showed up, I wouldn't return him the fruit once I started eating it. I acquired it. Since I acquired it, that means my evaluation is like a purchase. If it's like a purchase, I'm no longer allowed to snack on it. It's a great loveness.
The owner acquired it. It's not his apple. The owner is coming. He sees the owner. This is not his apple.
But he took a bite.
It's not his. You said the word owner. It's not mine.
So was he a thief?
He saw the owner.
Yeah.
That means that's being the case. It's not my apple.
No, he went like this, took a bite. And then he opened his eyes and the owner was there.
That's what I said.
Yes.
He sees the owner. The one who's eating it is not his apple.
You're catching me on my terminology. That sounds like Gemara saying. Okay? Yeah.
It seems like you would say that the heterodox was boy and calf have come at the same time.
So
therefore, in that kind of case,
so he's eating table at the same time.
that could be.
It's a great Gemara.
That could be because this is the only way that you could have the Shas Heter is by him eating it. No, if we're saying we're allowing him to snack that means we're allowing him to do this, so that if we don't care about the issue that comes along. So the fact that Isra and the Heter come together, we are basically going to say that it's the only way that the Heter comes through. I don't know. I just think
no, it's the only way the Heter comes through. But we have an alternative which says it never comes mutter, and you're not allowed to snack. You're right. Heter's been a case in which we had to find a Heter. So I don't know, maybe, but here's a simple alternative. Don't let him snack. He has to say such was a mice. Don't take chances. Okay? So anyway, that's what he says. So I don't make this up, I just report it over, that's what he says. Says the Gemara, if he says he's allowed to eat it, tell him the friend now possible is going to be eating tevel. The owner, if he's eating it and he can't return it, and he didn't take up Trumas Ma'asros, and it's his, so therefore, whenever you evaluate, it's if you bought it, and therefore you have to take up Trumas Ma'asros, you're not allowed to snap it. Tanya, we learned, Matzah Kalkola, you found the basket.
Let me go right there.
I can't read what I wrote here. Oh yeah, you found a basket, and the owner for sure gave up. It has no simon, but it's a place where most people take their fruit to the market, and therefore it has the status of a sale fruit. It said by fruit which is for sale, it's a kavua. It's a rate considered to be kavua because wherever you find somebody along the road, he'll sell it to him. Snack on it, it's mine. And when you take a Trumas Ma'asros of it, the Trumas Ma'asros are misafik. Because maybe since it was on the way to be sold, maybe the owner already took off the Trumas Ma'asros, which is what he should have done. However, Malcolm Shah robe machdisa lebatim, in a place where most people take the fruit home to eat at home. So then there's nothing yet which makes it susceptible to Trumas Ma'asros until it gets into the house. So makom shro machdisa batim mutar lechol meno rai. In that case, we assume that it wasn't on its way to a marketplace, therefore you can snack on it. But when you do bring it home, we assume that it was whoever lost it never rectified it, and therefore misak the vadai. You have to fix it definitively because I assume it was never fixed up. Mechta. What if you have a suffix? 50% of the people take to the market and 50% of the people take home. The sadeh, if you're out in the field, misakta tamai, then you're misaking it only as a suffix, because after all you're allowed to snack still in the field. So therefore you just treat it as tamai, and therefore you don't take off truma, or you take off as meiser like any tamai. When you bring it into your house, when you're no longer allowed to snack, then you have to take off full-blown truma meiser. Therefore you have to take off regular truma as well. Misak nevada. Rabbi Yonah asked, this is about a case where you took off out in the field. Took it out of the field. They took off the mic because they're not sure. It's not. You're still allowed to snack. And the guy, it might be a guy who is taking home, not a guy taking to the marketplace. So you took off only as the mic, and then you found out that it's definitely not tight. But you're still out in the field. You found that it was vada. They're for sure not tight. But the case was 50-50. You don't know. Misafi, you're allowed to eat it just by taking off the mic. Then you found that it was definitely not tight. Are you allowed to snack on it? Continue to snack on it. Say, since you started the process of taking Trumas Ma'asros off by taking off on the side that it's the mai, so then you can no longer snack on it. It's the mai itself make it kavua levadai, and now once you found out it's definitely vadai, you have to take off truma before you eat it. You may not snack on it even though you're out in the field. Okay, good question. On we go to a separate issue. More doesn't answer it right now. That was a very big question, how to read the next line. But according to the Kavanaki, now we're going to a different issue altogether. Okay? On the top of Tesvav and Alpha now. This is going back on the guy who only has to rectify the fruit definitively when he takes it into his house. Okay? Where he said that if it's a case where the people are machnisin lebatim, right? People don't take it to market, but rather they take it home. So you find out in the field, so it's not yet kavur for meiser, so therefore you can snack it until you get home, right? When you get home, you're misaki vadi, take off also truma. So it says more, wait a minute, I got a problem. Out in the field you took off meiser because you treated it as demai. When you got home, you're taking off truma because now you're treating it as vadai. It's the antithesis of the way you're supposed to take off matnas and matanos. First you're supposed to take off truma and then meiser. You're here treating out in the field as demai, and when you get home, you're treating it as vadai. So you take off meiser for truma, that's verboten. Not allowed to do that, right? So it says the Gemara, Rabbi Yossi Bar Bun, Rabbi Yochel B'Shem Rabbi Shimon Bar Yotzadok, Tzarech Latnos. He's got to make a condition. It's why he makes a condition. He says, if this guy, remember it's a 50-50 case, we don't know who this guy is. So if this is the guy, if it fell from a guy who normally takes the marketplace, and therefore it could be that he took up Trumas U'Maisris, and therefore I'm only taking off as the Mai, and therefore I'm only taking off Meiser itself, not Truma. He says, then I'm allowed only to take off Meiser. That's all I took off, and that's fine. Reem Lav, and if not, but rather the guys for the guys who eats in his house, and therefore when I get home, I have to take off definitively, even Truma. So my law Sisi Klum, what I did in the field is meaningless. What I take off now, that's the true Musum Maisrus. And therefore, because this is finishing the statement, because maybe it's one of the guys who takes home, Vadim says Trumas Maiser, Tfula Truma Gedola, and if you don't do it in the right order, so you mess up, your Trumas Maiser is Tevel vis-a-vis the Truma Gedola, because you took off in the wrong order. Okay? Now, continuing this vein, do you have a header here? What? You have a Chash Lomar is the next statement for you? Okay, Mechza. You have a header, but it's not, headers are extraneous here. Now it says the Gemara, Chash Lomar. What about the other way? Now, here, I have one girsa, the Kavanaki's girsa. It made no sense to me, so I looked up in Reb Chaim Kanievsky's girsa, and it's completely different from the Kavanaki's girsa, and both of them might be completely different from your girsa. But I'll read you like Reb Chaim Kanievsky has the girsa. Chash lomar shema me oisan shemachnisim lashuk. You have that? Okay, you have Labais, I have Labais, or Chaim Kanievsky has Lashuk. That's Ridbaz's tikkun, I think, here. See, that's the great thing about Yerushalmi. That can be creative. Baruch Hashem. V'chash lomar, shema me'oisam shemachnisin lashuku. Wait a minute. Let's say this stuff was intended for the marketplace, right? But you're eating out in the field, right? So what do? All you take off so far, as the Mai, is you take off the Meiser, right? You take off the Meiser. So ask the Gemara, V'nim says Truma Gedoyla, Tvula Trumas Meiseres.
We don't see what every people did.
Tvula Trumas Meiser, excuse me. V'nim says Truma Gedoyla, Tvula Trumas Meiser. Then I got a problem. Because when I get home, I'm going to take off Truma Gedoyla. But I'm going to take off this Truma Gedoyla out of order. Right? Because the truth is... Oh, let me make sure I get this right. Wait a second.
Anytime you do something out of order, you got a problem.
Neve says Shmuel
They gave a good reasoning for his words. Right? And so Rabbi understood, Rabbi Shimon, I forgot all about him, and he was placed on the mission, right?
It's going to be too much. It's not going to be precise.
Yeah, but how's it going to be, but I'm since it's math, I'm confused. How is it going to be imprecise? You're right, you got the idea, but how does it work?
It's simply because if you take the truma off first, then you're calculating the meiser on the balance, right?
Yeah.
But if you're not taking...
Oh, you're going to have the meiser before the truma, that's right.
So therefore, you're taking off too much meiser.
You take off too much meiser, exactly. Right. Oh. I don't understand because it's math. Anything that is math, I don't understand. But he's not supposed to understand math either.
Right, I don't understand it. But this is conceptual rather than math.
Okay, good. So if he takes off Meiser before Truma, so the Meiser is too great in proportion. Because Meiser is supposed to be after the 2% Truma, just to use a round number. Meiser is supposed to be on 98%, here it's on 100%. Right.
I can understand all the little details that you're adept at.
Okay. That's okay. We complement each other. So in any event, you also talk. You have to say when you're taking off the Trumas Meiser, which is slightly more than necessary, right? Then you make part of it Truma G'dolah. Say to the Kohen, you make it T'nai. You say if there's supposed to be complete Trumas Meiser, let it be Trumas Meiser. If it's too much of Trumas Meiser, then let the excess be part of my Truma G'dolah, because Truma G'dolah has no shiur, so therefore I can take and put it onto the Truma G'dolah. Okay? All these things is talking about where it. Yes.
That all makes sense if you're the Levi giving the Trumas Meiser.
No, but here the Yisrael gives the Trumas Meiser on behalf of the Levi because it's the Mai. It's the Mai. So it doesn't pass, it skips over the Levi. So Ad Kedum Davar She'en Lo Gorin. This all is good that you're chayiv to take off Truma G'dolah also by fruit which has no gorin, meaning they didn't make piles out in the field. It's the type of fruit they don't make piles out in the field. So therefore, when you get home, when you bring it into your house, at that point your mama you have to take off Truma G'dolah as well. However, avodav sheish l'gorin. But if something which they make piles out in the field when they harvest it, mafresh Trumas Meiser, then you have to take off Trumas Meiser. That's true. But ain't tzarich lafresh Truma G'dolah. You don't have to take off Truma G'dolah. Why is that? Because there's a principle which we haven't. Maybe we saw in the past, but we haven't seen in a while for sure. Kara de Tanya, like we've learned in other places, very famous brisa, not so famous, but somewhat famous. Matzah pelos mimurachim basodeh. You find fruit which has a pile. It's piled. Miruach was done. It's out in the field. Mechunasin, and they're in a pile again. Asurim shum gezel. You're not allowed to go take them home because it's theft, because they're clearly not hefker. However, mufuzarin, if they're scattered, mutarim mishum gezel. You can take them home. You don't have to. You assume they're hefker because they're scattered all over the place. Benkach u benkach. Regardless, chayovim Ma'asros. You have to take off Ma'asros on them. That's if they're scattered.
I'm talking about the expression itself. Mishum gezel. One kind.
Wonder.
Yeah.
Usually the same expression for two opposite effects.
That's true. So what? That's certainly because of the status question of gezel. Mishum is the mishum is bothering you because it's a funny way to use the word mishum. It is. I don't know why. Oh, you mean it's redundant? We're trying to do mishum gezel. Just say mishum. All right. No. Beikach or beik. Scale of 1 to 10. Beikach or beikach. Regardless, chayovin b'maisros. You have to take meiser off the stuff. But they're exempt from Truma G'dolah. Why is that? You do not move the pile from out in the field without taking off Truma first. That was the way they conduct themselves. It's not halachic. It's just behavioral. People will take off Truma ASAP. So therefore, even if now it's scattered, so once it was a pile, Mistame with Truma was already taken off. Okay? Meises mechan ditolos. A general question, though, once we're on this really general question of human behavior. Where does a person normally take off Meiser? Truma, he normally takes off while the stuff is still in the field. Meiser, does he wait till he gets home? Does he wait till he gets home? Minasoda minabais. Where is Meiser taken off from? Nishmina minado. Let's hear from the following case. The Tanya we learned. Chaver shemes. Tambachachim died. V'niach meguram le'peros. He left a megura is a warehouse. But this is a warehouse in his house. He left a warehouse in his house. Even if he brought him to his house that day, moments before he dropped dead, he was schlepping the food, and then he had a heart attack, right? So afilu bo bayom echnisan, even though he brought him to the house today, we assume that the fruit was rectified, that was meisered properly. How can that be? He just brought him into his house, and then he died, and he could have gone insane a moment ago, right? So when did he have time to meiser? It must be that when did he meiser it? Out in the field. Must he meiser on the field? So someone no. This is about a guy who died when he was lucid. So the moment before he died, he designated meiser, and that is already in the house. So it's no raya that a person never meisers out in the field. Rabbi Chanina b'shem Rabbi Pinchas said.
Well, we assume that's the first thing he did as soon as he brought him in the house.
Right, that's what he did before he died, while he was still lucid. Sham leminador. He wanted to bring a proof from this case. This is the Taka famous case. The Tzniya Taman. No, we're not. No, I'm Pentamid. You're still in Amram. The Tzniya Taman. Wait, how many lines to the bottom? You don't have the Tzniya Taman, right? Isur. You have next the word Isur, right? Right. 5 lines to the bottom?
Yeah, it is.
Isur Echad. It's a famous case from Gamliel and Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yeshua all on a boat, right? And it was a time to be Mavar Maisrus. The time in the third year when you have to get rid of all your Maisrus by that Pesach. That's the last time you have in order to take off Meiser. So after you transgress an Aveira. So what's he going to do? So he say he was makne his Meisers by Kinyan Agav, but together with land. So the various different Tanoim were with him in the boat. So he said, the 1/10 which I'm actually going to measure. Nasi Yoshua, it's given to Yoshua. Yoshua was a Levi, Rabbi Yoshua, and it's acquired by him by virtue of the fact that I'm renting in the place where the Meiser is, which is called Kinyan Agav. Together with Yisur Achar Shani Yasi Lamud, another 10th, which I'm going to measure. Nasul Akiva ben Yosef was given to Rabbi Akiva, who was the Gabait Stalker. She used Lo Banim. She was in it for the poor people. So we see Hadam Ramin Abayis. Here already the stuff was already collected and gathered in his house. So we see the mice, a person waits to take off until the stuff is in his house.
I didn't have the first part of Rabbi Yeshua.
You didn't have Rabbi Yeshua there? You don't have Rabbi Yeshua? It's not germane to the conversation. The bottom.
Why do you got it?
Because he had stuff. The Kavanoki had stuff. He had it, I guess, to make the story more exciting. Okay? I learned from the following case. I have Tzniya Tamon again. Mishu Perosa Bimagura. Somebody already had his fruit in the warehouse, which is in the house. V'nosan Solabein Levi, and he gives a measure to the Levite, V'sola Oni, and a measure to the Oni, Hadam Rein Abayis. It means that Trumas you do out in the field, but mice you only do when he gets in the house. Rabbi Baba Mori Shama Minadah, he heard the exact opposite, he argues, and learns the following, and again I have Tzniya Tamon, Minabayis Zuchala. What comes Minabayis? There's a pasuk, I think. Yeah, Dvar Chavav Yud Gimel. Minabayis Zuchala. Adamra teaches us that where mice come from, not from the field. That same time take off trumas on the field, he also take off mice as well. Okay? Rabbi Yoina. Rabbi Yoina said, now we're on Tesfah base. What? There's still only 2 black.
No, it's not true.
Yeah, we started your game on base. We did?
We skipped something in the middle.
We went back to
You give him a base, do you down a bit? It's still 2 black. Only 2 black. No, wishful thinking. Rabbi Yoina. Lo Amaru Ela B'derech. Rabbi Yoina says it's only on the road. In other words, when do I say that the owner gives a pope and then you get to keep the fruit? When you find it on the road. But if it's between our two yards, not on the road, we have a space between our 2 yards, and the stuff which falls in the space over there, that's not hefker. Because the guy doesn't give a pope, because it's not going to get disgusting and trampled there.
No, the Mishnah we did before. Then we had to go back.
Can I just go to after the Mishnah?
Right after the Mishnah.
Okay, I'm Rabbi Yoina, okay? Where is it?
No, you give him your Tesfah.
I'm Rabbi Yoina. Look at okay, it's between him and his friend, then it's not then it's not hefker. B'seizim charuvim, by carobs and by dates, it's never because they don't get disgusting. So you find the olives under the olive tree and the carobs under the carob tree. But you find they roll around. The carobs rolled under the olives and the olives roll under the carobs. So then, lo b'do, in that case, it is hefker. The guy does give up over his misyosh because he knows he's not going to get it back since it's rolled to a different location. Okay? I think we'll stop here for today because then starts a new sugya.
Was paying back the actual value that he owed the Yom for the work that he did for him because the Yom was responsible. So he told him
well, Bnei Adam, let's go a little bit. In Darsa Rob, do you have a header here? In Darsa Rob Bnei Adam?
You just have low batim in nidrasos.
Low batim in nidrasos, yeah. So the Gemara asks, how did you possibly find them scattered around in cakes? Don't they get scattered? Where do they get put in cakes? In the house. They don't get, people don't make cakes out in their fields, right? All right, most people do, you know, this is complicated. Forget it. Let's leave it for Monday. Because I remember this is going to be difficult to translate. Okay. Let's leave it for next week.
During the time of the Gemara, did they put olives in?
You know what I mean? Might as well learn a little bit further. Let's see if somebody shows up. Okay. Back to Tesvama base. You have a meeting?
All right.
Okay.
Same.